Hi everyone, welcome to the Holistic Birth Podcast, where we put the power in families' hands to have the safe, satisfying journey they deserve. My name is Allison.
And I'm Brigitte. We are two doulas who love bringing information along with inspiration to help you feel confident and powerful in your choices throughout the birthing year.
We cover all topics around pregnancy, birth, and beyond. We're so glad you're here.
Let's dive into this week's episode.
Welcome back to the Holistic Birth Podcast. This is episode 9, and we're going to be giving you 8 breastfeeding tips. And I'm kind of excited. Maybe first, might be helpful to talk about the benefits of nursing. Breastfeeding journeys, lactation journeys can be pretty complicated for some people. There's a lot of cultural layers, a lot of personal preferences and layers and things. But for those who are seeking a lactation journey, let's chat about some of the benefits.
Yeah. So many great benefits, obviously, to breastfeeding. So such as bonding. So oxytocin is definitely released during breastfeeding. So that helps with mom and baby bonding. And then helps regulate the temperature and the heart rate of both you and the baby. So that, again, the oxytocin just creates that relaxation and gets everybody just in a really good state physically and emotionally. Exclusive past 6 months reduces the risk of SIDS, which is definitely very important. Protection against illness and chronic diseases, so it really helps with boosting the immune system for both you and baby. And then it reduces the risk of osteoporosis, which is a really cool fact I didn't know about. And then premenopausal breast cancer prevents that, along with ovarian and thyroid cancers. Reduces the risk of postpartum depression and postpartum hemorrhage, and then also reduces stress due to lactation hormones. So, yeah.
Can you describe why or how breastfeeding can help reduce the risk of hemorrhaging postpartum?
Yeah. So, again, that hormone oxytocin is just super cool. And so that hormone tends to help with the uterus shrink down after the baby's born, so that prevents bleeding in itself. So pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Tip number 1.
Tip number 1, the breast crawl. So at the moment of birth, it's really that moment can really be super important with having really good success with breastfeeding. So the breast crawl, if you haven't seen it before, is basically when the baby is put on the belly and they are given the chance to kind of make their way up by crawling up to the breast. This takes anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. It really just all depends on how long it takes them. Something that is really helpful for this is the baby can be dried off, but leaving their hands wet is actually really helpful for this because their hands smell like the amniotic fluid, which your nipple smells like that as well. So it just helps them navigate their way up to the nipple, and they'll just latch on by themselves, and it's pretty amazing. So we'll link some videos to that, I think, in the show notes, and we'll show that for those who haven't seen it. It's really cool.
Yeah. I had a client ask me recently. She said, how does the baby have the strength to potentially wiggle and crawl their way up? And I was like, well, do you remember when they kick you?
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. And I was like, their legs work. They work. Obviously they're their neck strength and obviously their hand-eye coordination is not obviously there yet, but it's pretty cool to see that instinct kind of pop in for them.
Yeah. And another cool thing too about it is they're as they're making that crawl up and they're pushing their legs on your belly, it helps with that fundal massage. So it's just kind of another natural way to help with postpartum hemorrhage. And that skin to skin is also important too, with having that skin to skin, and it regulates their temperature that way too. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
So tip number 2 would be noticing your baby's hunger cues. They are not always very clear with their communication for some people, but I feel like usually after the first week or 2, you're like, oh, I get it. Okay. So it's helpful to kind of know what these are in advance, but basically there's 3 levels to their hunger cueing. The first stage is like the early cues. That's when they're saying like, I'm hungry. It's like when you make eye contact with the waiter or waitress and like they know you're hungry, you know that, but you're not like upset yet. You're like, I'm ready to order soon. But
so the baby's like,
yeah, right. Yeah, they're not like demanding yet. But they're at this point they're stirring, their mouth is opening, they're turning their head, kind of doing that rooting thing that newborns do. Then the mid cues are them saying like, hey, I'm really hungry. It's like when you're really trying to flag down the waiter or waitress. They're like stretching. They are definitely moving more. And sometimes they even put their hand to their mouth where they're like trying to find something. Then there's the late cues. That's the like, call me, then feed me kind of thing. So it's like you're really upset. This like the wait staff comes over and they're like, okay, I'm sorry. Like we acknowledge you're really hungry. Like here's your food. And so it's nice to like know that you need to calm them first, because at this point they're usually like crying, they're more agitated, and they might be even turning red a little bit. So if you've missed any of those earlier or mid like hunger cues, know that they might obviously start to be more vocal with their communication. But it's helpful to kind of know when those earlier ones are, so you can start getting your like nursing station ready or change their diaper, before you feed them. That's really common practice. So helpful to know their hunger cues.
Yeah, those are definitely important, and not only, they can sometimes be missed, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's just you may have to take a little bit of extra effort to try to calm them down first. But it's all a learning curve, so don't beat yourself up about it.
For sure, absolutely.
Definitely. It's not like, if your baby starts crying, they won't eat at all. You just have to get them to calm down a little bit. So so the other tip number 3 is make sure your baby's neck is open. So you want kind of like their neck just like elongated, not, crunched down on your breast. It's easier for them obviously to swallow. And their latch will be better too if their neck is up. And then also nipple to nose or to chin. So try whichever works for you, but you want to make sure that their mouth is open. And again, the nipple is facing the roof of the mouth. So,
Yeah, like that wide mouth. I think that surprises people to like to make sure the baby's mouth is really wide, because it's deeper than you think. It's not just them latching onto the nipple. Like they need areola. Like they need more tissue.
Yeah, exactly. As much tissue as they can get. Yeah.
And as much, you want that too, because
yes,
it's way more comfortable. Like the anatomy is wild how your baby and your body like click, but
it shouldn't be painful. So
yeah, cool. So tip number 4 is to consider different positions. Most people kind of just assume that like baby's like head is in like the crook of your arm and it's just like that one arm type of thing. But you could try other things like the cross cradle, which they're still kind of doing that that laying position in your arms, but instead you have like 2 hands, 2 arms that you're using, where like you're supporting them with the opposite side that they're nursing on, and then your free hand the side that they're nursing on, you then are helping to like guide the breast. So there's always that. There's also side lying, which is a really helpful position if you're wanting to kind of lay down or have a more restful position for when you're nursing. It's important no matter what position you're nursing in to be able to have that like belly to belly kind of formation, making sure that baby's not like on their side trying to nurse by turning their head. Like a good aligned spine is really helpful for that.
Yeah. So when it comes to the side laying, I know there's sometimes concern about like suffocation or, rolling on the baby or anything like that. Do you have any tips or thoughts or anything surrounding that? Because I feel like that's a big question.
It is. Yeah. And I think it definitely leads into the big conversation of like safe sleep and bed sharing, and every family and their values and preferences are different with that. But if someone's wanting to avoid falling asleep, you could prioritize that position for daytime. Not that you're not tired during the day,
right,
but you could prioritize that for during the day. You could have someone else kind of be on like lookout duty. Well, maybe you let yourself rest, you let yourself doze off. It could be your overnight doula, could be your partner, can kind of just keep an eye on things. Also, if baby's done and they've fallen off the breast and maybe it's time to burp them or just soothe them or put them wherever you want them, you could continue sleeping while your support person then carries baby to somewhere else so you can keep resting.
Yeah.
But even just the position that you are in on your side does make an impact. So having your arm the side that you're laying on stretched out so that you are less likely to continue rolling onto your stomach, potentially onto baby, that reduces that. And then also just standard like safe sleep guidelines of like avoiding like too like loose bedding, too many loose bedding options around you.
Yeah, too many pillows and
too
stuff
many
like
pillows,
that. Yeah.
extra blankets, anything that's too fluffy. And then also like a firm mattress is like more ideal. But the La Leche League put out the Safe Sleep 7. It's like guidelines on how to, if you are bed sharing or if you just want to help reduce your risk of any like bad outcomes or anything like that. Sometimes it's like helpful guidelines. We can put that in the show notes too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, cool. That's awesome. All right. So number 5 is basically just things to keep an eye out for like bad latch. So clicking noises if the upper lip is tucked and the cheeks are sucked inward. And then also we want to make sure that again, we kind of talked about it a little earlier, but like just a deepen latch. So a more deeper latch. And then flaring out the lip. So we want to see that lip flared out and, lips tucked in. So if your baby does have a bad latch, you can actually just take like your pinky and just kind of sneak it inside the corner of their mouth and just pull a little bit, and should be able to release it. You want to basically break that suction, and then just try again. And again, just keeping an eye out for those things too. So yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the latch is it's like the big question mark for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Tip number 6 would be specifically for clogged milk ducts. Some basic things to get started with would be to apply warm compresses, obviously rest and hydration, which resting is a little bit of a hot commodity postpartum that might not be super easy to access, but it's obviously important even if you're just resting on the couch or having like a in bed type of day with your baby. So yeah, hydration, and then gently massaging is pretty helpful. I definitely do not recommend like a machine gun like massage thing. Like nothing. You do not need something that, no, you don't need that for your body. No.
Yeah.
Gentle massage is helpful.
Yeah.
And consider like a shower too. Sometimes that's a helpful, like easy way. Not only can you massage in the shower and just try to help with releasing that clog, but being able to have like the warmth is also really helpful for like opening and dilating like your milk ducts and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think another thing too is when doing compresses, I was told that having like a heating pad, something that actually stays warm, because like warm compresses are fine, but they get cold kind of quick. So having like a heating pad is actually a really good idea to use. And then, clogged ducts are basically just like the fat from deposits from the milk getting stuck in the ducts. So massaging and like loosening that up is what's really important. So that heat really does help, and having like the showers actually is a great way to do it too, because then you can get like that warm, wet compress, but it's constant instead of getting cold on you. So,
yeah. And definitely make sure it's not too hot either. Like it should be comfortable. It's not like the hotter the better. Like obviously it has to be like a comfortable temperature, but warm is good.
Yeah, definitely. And things that also help with this is homeopathy, which I think we should do a whole podcast episode on breastfeeding common problems. So we'll definitely do that.
Definitely should talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So number 7 is start noticing how your breasts feel to determine which side to start with on next. So consider using an app or even just, a hair tie. Those things can be helpful on just kind of observing what breast is doing what, and to decide, when to switch and what to start with first.
For sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I have had clients who they hair tie, they like the idea, and then they forget to switch it. But then by the time they figure out which side it's time to nurse on. They don't need the hair tie trick anymore.
Right.
But
yeah,
it's kind of
helps you get started.
It's very helpful to like help you get started, especially the app I think is really common too. That's such a good idea.
Yeah. I didn't know there was an app, and I was like, oh gosh, they created an app for everything.
Oh,
This
there's
is great.
tons. Oh, there's tons. Yeah.
Yeah. There's an app for that.
Always.
Yeah. Right.
Cool. Yeah. And our eighth and final tip for you for breastfeeding is to support your body really well. A big thing that would promote sustainability when it comes to your breastfeeding or nursing journey is to make sure that you're making sustainable positions and body mechanic like protocol for yourself. So bringing baby to you rather than you hunched over like slouching down to baby, that's huge. Definitely load yourself up with pillow support, whether it's like some sort of like breastfeeding pillow, or you just have like, I've had clients who like use specific throw pillows because they're the right height for what they need. Like just get creative. Obviously when you're out in public or don't have those things nearby, then might be a little different. But when you have the possibility of pillow support, definitely get it in place. You can get a stool or something to help bring your legs up if you need. And definitely once you've latched baby and it seems like that's like established and you're ready to roll for your session, don't forget to like relax your shoulders, do some neck stretches, just kind of like circle your neck and your head around and kind of like release any tension that you have in your shoulders, because we do tend to do a lot of like hunched forward type of things with baby. But yeah, just kind of expand that chest and help it kind of stay away from the tightness that can feel pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. I had a question about, so as far as like lactation, this popped into my head. Do you have like suggestions on diet or anything like that maybe to support lactation? Do you think like those things are really like important? Because I feel like that's a big question. Like, what can I eat to like promote more, more milk? So yeah.
Well, I think I've had clients where it does make an impact when they've changed something in their diet. It could be something like they came down on like how much dairy they had or leafy greens that made their baby gassy or something like that. But I feel like I've had a few clients who swear by sunflower lecithin because it helps with their it helps with the ducts being clogged and everything. And I've had a few clients
I heard that too,
that have had some bad mastitis rounds too. So I think some people kind of do that preventatively, or even like after you've like realized that you have like a clogged duct or something. I know a lot of people will try to incorporate like oats into their diet to promote like better supply and everything. But usually just like well-balanced nutrition is going to be impactful, and you typically need a lot more calories and protein when you are when you're breastfeeding than when you're not. So definitely keep the snacks handy.
Eat lots.
Yes,
eat lots of good stuff.
And I've definitely seen people who've tried all those things and it doesn't seem to impact what's going on. It could be something anatomical going on with them, or it's just not that powerful for, I don't know. I've just had clients who've tried really hard to have their diet implement good changes, but I think if anything, it just gives people peace of mind that they tried whatever like wives' tale or myth or thing that their sister or somebody did. I had one client who had her supply tanked. All of a sudden it was like she was really good, and then I was her postpartum doula, and I showed up that day and she was like, I don't know what happened in the last 24 hours that I've seen you, but something's wrong. Like my supply is like so low. I don't know what's going on. And so we went through everything. We were like, what's different? Like, are you doing, I don't know, anything new with like the way your bra is? Like, is it too tight? Is it like, what's, we were just looking at all the pieces. Yeah. And it ended up being, she was starting to chew mint gum.
Oh, weird.
And like peppermint, it can be like like something that helps to lower your milk supply. Like I've had clients.
I didn't know peppermint. I've heard like sage, but I didn't know peppermint was one.
Spearmint and peppermint. Yeah. I've had clients. What?
I say cool, but not cool.
Cool, but not cool. Yeah. Like I've had clients who are trying to wean for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I've had clients who've experienced loss and don't want to produce milk anymore. And so they look for those options that are supposed to help reduce your supply. So
Yep.
yeah, no, she was chewing gum, and so she stopped and immediately, and her supply came back. But
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing.
for some people, like that wouldn't matter at all, but for her, it totally changed
For her,
everything.
It did. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Another thing too, that I've heard is that, or learned is that, like the more you nurse or pump, the more milk supply you'll have. So that your breasts are going to get used to like producing a lot, and it stimulates them to produce more. So having that constant like pumping or breastfeeding really helps with that too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And low supply is, everyone's so worried about not making enough milk, and there are still tons of people who make like too much, like more than their baby needs.
Right. Yeah.
And that's also a full-time job.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I had a twin mom who, she had plenty of milk for both her babies and then some, and she was like a mass producer, like it was very powerful, but it was too much. It was a lot because she was constantly attached to her pump.
Yeah.
And that can be a pain too.
Yeah.
But anytime you need help with like, you feel like your supply is too high, too low, if you feel like your like nipples are cracked, you latch doesn't seem right, the positions you're in aren't really working for you or baby, like setting up for pumping, going back to work, any transitions, or even just a check-in, like it's so normal and okay to seek help. So there's different levels of like lactation specialists. There are like, peer support people, like a friend or someone in the community that's just been through a lot themselves, and so you can kind of seek out some guidance from them. There's like a more like trained approach where someone's maybe like a lactation like counselor or a lactation educator, so then they can help with like giving different suggestions and kind of helping with thinking outside the box with like creating like plans for like when you're going back to work, or if you're trying to implement pumping, or just in general education ahead of time or something. And then I think the big heroes of the lactation world are IBCLCs, those International Board Certified Lactation Consultants. And there are both hospital-based ones and private practice ones. It kind of depends on what you need, but a lot of insurance companies cover lactation visits from an IBCLC. You can even have a visit scheduled prenatally. We just had someone in pregnancy group this past week who just had her prenatal consult with an IBCLC, and she's like, hey, I'm ready to go. Like she helped me with like flange size fitting for my pump. We talked about, different positions. She was feeling super confident in like some education, and also she's already established the relationship with an IBCLC, so it's easier to pick up the phone or schedule something with her later. But IBCLCs are fantastic.
Yeah. You don't have to wait till, after the baby comes to get help if you have questions or just want more guidance. Some doulas are, trained in some lactation consultant things or counseling, so they can help you too. So for sure. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you're, if it's something you really want to do. And also don't put pressure on yourself. Don't put so much pressure that like sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that's okay too. So, we give these tips with that in mind, not, we definitely want to help people have the best success with breastfeeding, but of course, if it doesn't go that way, that's okay too. It's all right. Yeah.
There's a lot of like expectations or shame or guilt or whatever.
Yeah, peer pressure and like family pressure, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. So like letting yourself off the hook is super powerful for a lot of people. Like when they finally decide. There's also other people who are like, like all these cultural things and my own expectations, like I'm just going to throw that to the side and figure out how to just like they just barrel through and they figure it out. Like there's a fantastic doula on our team. Her name's Samantha Yeton, and she
shout out to Samantha.
She's wonderful, and she's a huge champion for like education and really just like I don't know, like cycle breaking when it comes to like the assumptions and misinformation that there is out there about lactation journeys. And she has like a whole class on like more than milk. Like it's more than your basic like lactation 101 class, where it's like, how do you apply all of this information in the real world, make it sustainable if those are your goals, of course.
Right.
And that's the whole purpose of this episode, is if you're hoping to breastfeed and you're hoping to have some sort of lactation relationship with your baby, it's good to have some tips in mind kind of going into it, or some education, ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just thought of another question.
Sure.
So I had someone that was breastfeeding, and she was really struggling with postpartum depression, actually. As soon as she stopped breastfeeding, it went away. Do you have thoughts on that? Because I was like, oh wow, I have not heard of that before. I wasn't even sure how, and she was okay with it. She just, she just pumped or not, she didn't pump actually. She just actually formula fed, but yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, in theory, the lactation journey specifically with like baby on you rather than just pumping, it's supposed to help reduce the risk of like mental health complications and things postpartum. Because like we talked about before, like that oxytocin hormone is released, and so that's like the love hormone, makes you feel all like bonded and like wonderful and everything like that. But there are people who have a specific stress level when it comes to feeding, and there are a lot of things involved with that. But for some, it's not feeling like their body is theirs. It's feeling like they're always tied to something or someone. It's
that makes a lot of sense.
Feeling like tied down to a specific area every 2 to 3 or 4 hours. So there's a lot of like there's the mental load for it. It can feel like a lot of responsibility. So for some people, whether baby has like weaned on their own or they've decided to stop, there is like a weird shift that can happen mentally. Sometimes there's like good and bad. Some people miss those bonding moments. Other people feel they kind of feel some sort of freedom after it.
That makes total sense for sure.
And I mean, it could have been a lot of different things for her, but that kind of comes to mind as like for a lot of people it's a huge like load.
She didn't express that to me, but that's something I probably should have asked her. You're always learning from your clients. So
There's also the dysphoric milk ejection reflex, where people literally have this wave of negative emotions when like baby starts latching. They feel usually frustrated by it because they don't want to have these negative feelings or emotions around the breastfeeding journey. But for some people, it's not enjoyable, and there's just like a specific, like with your letdown, like it's a specific feeling. They might feel like depressed or like upset at their baby. Like there's like it's not that you're a bad parent. It's literally just like anatomy wise, physiologically, like hormones and things are being released that are not giving you that typical warm fuzzy feeling that like other people might have.
Okay, that's great information. So I think it can go either way, so
for sure,
again, don't beat yourself up about it. So and you have some lactation courses, don't you?
We've got that's good. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a Lactation 101 course. We have it in person here, but we also have it digitally, like it's like a self-paced type of thing. Probably could take someone like about an hour, sometimes longer, depends on how long you want with the content. But it's we talk about like anatomy and physiology, benefits, talk a lot about supplies, preparation, just like different newborn cues, positions. That latch is a big conversation. We talk a little bit about like pumping and milk storage, and there's like a lot of like resources in there, but that's always an option too if someone's interested in like an online class.
Cool. You've got some good online course resources, so
thank you.
Check those out. We'll link them in the show notes for you.
Sounds great.
Cool.
Well, if you need any more tips or tricks or need help with troubleshooting anything, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to help as best as we can, or we have resources coming out of our ears. So definitely let us know if there's anyone or anything that you need help with.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be happy to help.
For sure.
There's lots of questions surrounding breastfeeding. So, and we'll definitely go on some, do some more episodes on specific topics around breastfeeding. So don't worry.
Stay tuned for more.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, good. And if there's any, if there are any topics in particular that you really want to hear about, definitely let us know. We have some good ones kind of queued up, but we also really like to take into consideration what you are interested in hearing about.
Yeah, we want to hear from you, the people, on what you need to know or want to know. So
fantastic.
Cool.
Thanks for tuning in today, and we hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. That's it for this topic. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the show notes for any resources or links that we mentioned today. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on your preferred podcast platform, and also be sure to give us a review.
It really helps us grow and reach more people who could benefit from this info. Also, check us out on YouTube and visit our blog where we have this podcast transcribed for you.
We'd love to connect over social media too, and we're just an email away if you have any questions or if you want to request a topic to be covered.
We hope this helps your mind, body, and soul in having the supported and holistic journey you are so deserving of. Embrace the power within you.